history students. As I am grading your last week homework, I'm noticing two kind of trends. Either many of us were kind of intimidated and I think they wanted to take the easy route and was copying stuff off of ChatGTP or off of Google. I can kind of tell because you're putting things on there that we haven't even studied and come much later in history in our time periods. So just kind of very obvious because you have not been taught that and was not in the reading that you were provided or in any of our stuff yet. So that's kind of how I told you guys it's very easy for me to tell. Or secondly, you guys made a really good effort, or you tried and you're pretty close and we just need to make smaller mistakes, or it just is pretty disorganized and pretty off what it should look like. So I thought I would try to help out to parents and to students on how we go through working on homework. Okay, so this was this week's homework. It says in 1 to 3 paragraphs, identify the states that developed in Americas and explain how they changed over time. One paragraph for IEP students, so I'm looking right here. Okay, so that's the 1 to 3 paragraphs, depending on your skill level, right? Just we're all at different places. If you have IEP, right, you're just doing one body paragraph. If you're general education students, you would do a 2 body paragraph homework. And if you're AP, you're doing all 3, right? These, I even tell you, states that are developing in the Americas. These are the states that you can, right? As we told in class, when we are in world history, when we say states, we're not thinking about Ohio and Pennsylvania. We're thinking of countries, modern day countries. So identify means you have to name, you have to give an answer, one of these that right that developed in Americas. What are the states? These are the states that are developing in America, and explains how they changed over time. I tell you right here what are your steps, right? Pick your topic for your body paragraph. These are the topics you're given, right? If you have any choice, if you're IEP, you can pick any of those that you're interested in. If you have general ed, you would pick 2 out of the 3. AP will do all 3. Answer the prompt. Restate the prompt and give an answer. I go back to the prompt. Okay, in 1 to 3 paragraphs. You don't need to rewrite that, right? That's I'm telling you what you're doing. What is the question that you're answering? It will usually start with the states that developed in Americas are. So that's how we are gonna start. That's how we're okay. And then you will say Aztec Mayans or whichever 2 that you picked. Okay? So you will say a state that developed in the America was the Aztec. And that paragraph will only be about the Aztecs or whichever you want to pick first. So it should look like this. This part, right, you're just copying. I start with a capital letter. The state that developed in the Americas in the 1200s is the Aztecs. Okay? Did I do my first step? Right? Okay, yes, I did the first. Answer the prompt. Okay, we restated the prompt and we give an answer. Now we have to do what? We have to cite examples. What does that mean? Give examples of how your chosen state is growing in the time period. Give examples of how it's changing. You were provided this reading with the homework, right? Developments in Americas. What are the things that are happening in the Americas? It's a lot of reading, but I tell you, right? You do not have to do the entire reading. It is scaffolded, and you need to understand what you're looking for. So that is why I have you pick a topic before. I even put comments on here, right? Mississippi is not the most interesting culture at this time. So, right, I even put notes for you guys there. Skip that section. What are the keywords that I'm looking for? It was the Maya choice. Yes, right? That was one of my choices. But is that the topic that I gave for my topic? No, the answer I gave was the Aztecs. So I need to make this body paragraph about just the Aztecs. So I see the Maya. Yes, those are some examples from the right place. But in this paragraph, we're talking about the Aztecs. And my answer has to match my examples. This is a really great book because it has really nice subtext and subtitles and bolds. So, oh, I'm looking for the Aztecs. This is the part of the Aztecs. These are the section, right? It is about 3 paragraphs, if you check, right? Depending on, right, exactly, perfect. Whichever, again, you can look at their religion, their government, their technology. What you're looking for, how is it growing and changing? Okay, so again, depending on your reading level, you can write scaffolded, but you have about a couple paragraphs to read. You're looking for how is it changing. You're gonna read that, underline those ideas. You're gonna come back, right? Okay, so I need to give examples. So how is a good transition sentence to do that? I'm right here. The states that developed in the Americas in the 1200s is the Aztecs, and I need a period. I restated the sentence. Next, I have to cite examples. We use ACE. Answer, cite, explain. Give an answer, cite examples, explain using a historical thinking. So, for example, the Aztecs, oh, I'm sorry, I keep capitalizing where I shouldn't capitalize. The Aztecs give us great technology like the floating islands, right? So that was probably right, the Chinampas. The Aztec built floating gardens called chinampas to increase the amount of space for food production. The Aztec dug ditches to use lake water to irrigate their fields and drain parts of the lake for more land. Great, this is a great technology example. I'm gonna keep reading, right? Okay, but I can skim, you see? I didn't have to do much reading. The Aztecs conquered much of Mesoamerica. They developed a tribute system that ensured their dominance. Okay, now here's a perfect example of how you can use ChatGTP to your advantage. All right, great. I see some, but maybe this is like a little bit too difficult for me. Maybe this is not my reading level. You may please copy this section down. You copy it to ChatGTP and you say, hey, can you explain this to me in simple terms? And that's true learning. You don't ask ChatGTP to write your homework for you. You highlight, let's look at a good example. Okay, maybe this is too hard for me, too confusing. Use ChatGTP as a tutor. Yes, copy it into ChatGTP, ask it, hey, can you show me, or can you put this in simple terms? Can you simplify this, make it, easier? Or you also have YouTube resources, Heimler History, right? This is a curriculum, a very well-renowned curriculum. All high schools are doing this across the nation. So there's a tons of resources. If you're not a strong reader, then I recommend you watch the video. He does talk fast, kind of like I do. So you may have to pause here and there. But listen, what are the technologies or some, things that he may talk about? So you may also do that. Make sure you're on the right one. So, right, you're not looking at the Song Dynasty this week. That was your last week's homework. You were looking at the Americas this week. So those are some helpful tips for you. So then you would say, right, for example, and give me your technological, political, your spice tea chart examples, okay? Like the Chinampas, which were floating gardens. These floating gardens created more space for food. You could write, again, here, if you have an IEP, you give me one example. If you're in general education, you always give me 2 examples. If you are AP, you give me 3 examples, right? So, and then I would explain why is this important. More food allows for population growth, right? More food, just you get more you can feed your people, and more population is good, and it also allows for specialization of jobs. Not everybody will have to be a farmer anymore. Now we can branch out into different fields, into medicine, astronomy, math, into other fields that makes our life better and give us better technologies. Use answer, cite, explain. Please keep that in rhythm so that your writing is organized. If you have more questions, please come with your work and I can get you feedback. Thank you so much.